Welcome back. Autism is becoming more common in today's world. In a new report, the CDC found that 1 in 36 kids have autism. That's a jump from 2006, when it was just 1 in 110 children. But I spoke to an expert who says there are ways to minimize the risk. Joining me now is autism expert Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, so to start with, Doctor, why do you think are we seeing such a spike right now in autism cases?
Yeah, it's increased tremendously. Just this year, we had the new prevalence of 1 in 36 announced by the CDC. The general belief is that this is associated with the increase in toxins in our environment. So the genetic part of autism is what's called low redox. So children with autism tend to not detoxify fast enough. And so when they're exposed to the same toxins we are, they just don't detoxify. And having an overload of toxins can influence your brain development and your sensory input and then lead to symptoms that we call autism.
Now, can you give some examples? What kind of toxins in the environment are we talking about here?
Primarily, we're talking about the pesticides in our food. Over the last couple of decades, almost all of our food in the U.S. has some form of pesticide on it. So it becomes really important for these children to be on organic diets, so they're avoiding as much of this as possible as they're young, when they're very young.
Now, that's interesting because it sounds like that's something that you can avoid then during pregnancy or even after pregnancy. So what adjustments should moms make in that case?
That's right. So, and as you said, we don't know if the exposure to these pesticides, for instance, is in utero or after birth. So it is very important for moms who are pregnant to be eating an organic diet, trying to avoid pesticides, food colorings, additives, those types of things, so that they are very, very healthy.
So when you say in utero, you mean it's not clear whether it's during pregnancy or after pregnancy, right?
Correct.
So we don't know, or is there any indication as of when's the most sensitive time for those children?
That's a terrific question. So the belief is that the closer, if the child is exposed to toxins at a very, very early stage of development, so in utero, it can harm their brain development more. Because by the time you're born, there's a certain amount of development that has already occurred. So if you're exposed to toxins after birth, it's going to be less severe than if you were exposed when your brain was just developing.
Oh, interesting. Now, I read that there is this new law, in New York City at least, that the NYPD now needs to get trained on recognizing those individuals that do have autism. Why do you think that's important?
That's a wonderful thing that's happening in New York, and I think it should actually happen everywhere because, adults with autism or teens with autism may not understand certain things that are very important when you're interacting with the police, and that could put them in jeopardy. For example, a police officer might say, "Stop, raise your hands," and the person won't know what that means, and they might continue to run. And that would obviously endanger their life. So it's important for the police to know that interaction with an autistic individual has to be a little bit different. In fact, we also train firefighters, because there have been incidences where a firefighter will go into a house and try to call someone to help them out, and the individual gets frightened and actually goes and hides. And so their life is threatened that way. So yeah, first responders all need the training, and it's really helpful that they're getting it here.
That's very interesting. And I think because it's so prevalent in the U.S. right now, it's very important to know as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.